When reason failed to save the empire, the sword stepped forward. After the fall of the crown in February 1917, central authority collapsed. The army became politicized, discipline eroded, and the same force that had astonished Europe in 1916 was now fracturing from within. In such a moment, a man stepped forward who believed Russia's problem was not a lack of victories, but a lack of authority. Episode 18. 4. Lavr Kornilov, The Sword Against Revolution. Scene 1. An Army Without Obedience. After the February Revolution, Order Number 1 was issued. Soldiers' committees were formed. Obedience to officers became conditional. By the summer of 1917, desertion rates rose explosively. Some units refused offensive orders. Political meetings in the trenches replaced silent discipline. The Provisional Government wanted to preserve the revolution and continue the war. But war requires an army that obeys, not one that debates. In July 1917, Supreme Command was entrusted to Lavr Kornilov. Unlike many staff generals, he was a field commander. He had endured captivity and escaped. His reputation was built on decisiveness, not compromise. And his diagnosis was simple. An army without discipline is not an army. A country without authority is not a country. Scene 2. A prescription called Iron Authority. Kornilov demanded immediate measures. Restoration of the death penalty at the front. Limitation or dissolution of soldiers' committees, full restoration of officers' authority, strict control in the capital. He believed the February Revolution had produced disorder, not freedom. On the other side stood Alexander Kerensky, head of the Provisional Government, trying to maintain an impossible balance. Revolution without collapse. War without dictatorship. But crises rarely give moderates much time. Scene 3. August 1917. The march toward Petrograd. After the failure of the summer offensive, disorder deepened. Rumors of a Bolshevik coup spread in the capital. Factories were restless. Garrison troops were unreliable. Kornilov ordered reliable forces to move toward Petrograd. The stated objective? Restore order. But was this coordinated with Kerensky or an attempt to seize power? Accounts differ. What is certain, Kerensky suddenly denounced him as a traitor. Railway workers disrupted troop movements. Anti-Kornilov propaganda spread. And to defend the capital, the government turned to whom? The Bolsheviks. Workers were armed. Red Guards were organized. And the crisis dissolved without a major battle. Kornilov was arrested. But the political consequences ran deeper than one arrest. Scene 4. Strengthening the revolution he sought to contain. The Kornilov Affair produced 3 decisive results. 1. The Provisional Government's credibility was severely weakened. 2. The Bolsheviks gained legitimacy and weapons. 3. The divide between officers and political authority widened. An attempt to stop radicalism empowered the radicals. In October 1917, the Bolsheviks seized power. Kornilov was released and headed south, where the nucleus of anti-Bolshevik resistance was forming. Scene 5. From coup to civil war. In the Don and Kuban regions, he helped organize the volunteer army. The objective was clear: a united Russia, centralized authority, the destruction of Bolshevism. But civil war is neither short nor orderly. In April 1918, during the assault on Yekaterinodar, Kornilov was killed by an artillery shell. He never lived to see whether his prescription for Russia would have worked. Conclusion: when the sword replaces the mind. In the previous episode, we saw how Mikhail Alexeyev could not prevent political collapse through calculation and structural management. Here, Kornilov attempted to fill that same void with willpower and force. But Russia's problem was not merely indiscipline. It was a crisis of legitimacy, a crisis of trust, a crisis of faith in the old order. When political foundations crumble, even million-man armies become instruments of internal struggle. Kornilov represents that moment. The moment when a nation moves from calculation to coercion, from headquarters to the field, from the mind to the sword. If you want to understand how the clash between reason and authority turned into full-scale civil war, and how after Kornilov's death, leadership of the white forces passed to an officer who valued honor above politics, join us in the next episode. Anton Denikin, Honor in a Ruthless World. Subscribe. Activate the notification bell. Because from this point forward, Russian history would be written not only by revolution, but by civil war.